Yeah, if you read the literature, that so-called the terrorist literature, documents of what they write about, what they desire, and so forth. One of the consistent things in their fatwas, for example, is that it is the duty of every jihadist to get a nuclear weapon. That's their. I don't think they'll be able to accomplish that, but if only one gets it, it's one too many.
I'm probably about to ask you something else you can't comment on, but we'll give it a shot. You mentioned that we currently can only produce approximately 10 plutonium kits a year. I think the situation on secondaries is probably better than that. I don't really know, and you probably can't comment on that.
Yeah.
But Savannah River plant's been shut down for quite a while. We currently have no facility for production of tritium. And my understanding of the nuclear agreements and treaties is that you have to produce those materials in your own country. We can't procure tritium from Canada, from their reactors. It has to be produced in this country. That would seem to be a more immediate threat to our weapons inventory than the pit situation, because the half-life of plutonium is so short. I'm sorry, of tritium is so short relative to plutonium or HEV.
Tritium is a real problem right now. We, as you say, we do not have any dedicated reactors that produce tritium like we had at one time at Savannah River and Hanford both. They were producing tritium. Tritium has got a short half-life. It's an essential component in boosting the primaries and fueling the secondaries. So it's important on both ends of the weapon, the primary and the secondary. We do have 2 civil reactors in Tennessee that have been authenticated to produce a small amount of tritium. We get that from Watts Bar reactor, for example, in Tennessee. But it's not enough. The rest of it we get from weapons that have been retired. We pull the tritium out of those weapons and put them back into circulation. But at one point we have to, because of the shorter half-life of tritium, we have to come up with a strategy for making more of it.
One of the things that the presentation made abundantly clear, I think, was the failure of our intelligence community to get either pro or con numbers right. We can't do an awful lot about what the Chinese are doing and what the Russians are doing in terms of their research and development. But
Right.
one would think we have total control over what we're doing in the intelligence community. Why can't we fix that? I mean, it isn't something that hasn't been well known for quite some time, and it seems to me we just don't have the will to go in and clean house and do something right for it.
It's going to take a command decision from on high to accomplish that. What we've done right now, for example, there's been a growth in the staffing in the intelligence community, but it hasn't been on the production side. Let me give you an example. When I was in DIA, the intelligence office in the Department of Energy consisted of one person and a secretary. And in DIA, if I needed Los Alamos to provide some service to me, I would call up this person. I'd say, I need 4 people at Los Alamos to get a higher classification, we call it SCI. And he'd say, well, I can make that happen next week. Today it would take me probably 7 months sometimes to get someone cleared. And the size of the intelligence function in the Department of Energy has now grown into about 1,000 people.
So what's the answer?
The answer is evaluating what products we need to generate and come up with efficient ways of doing that.
Can you comment on the Iranian nuclear production or nuclear threat right now, especially the Fordo plant and their desires to develop a nuclear weapon?
The Iranian program started out certainly under the Shah of Iran before he left. When the Shah left, almost all of those assets were shut down because the new clerics that came into Iran were not pro-nuclear. They thought that was bad. And so it was closed down. But it began to rejuvenate. And now Iran is on the path to produce highly enriched uranium at a number of locations, Natanz being one. Natanz we watched for a long time. We watched them build it up. We watched them bury it. We watched a lot of activities there. At Natanz, they will soon have the capability of producing, if they're not already there, highly enriched uranium that you need for nuclear weapons. At Qum, another underground facility, the same thing except larger. We see them producing, opening up reactors, for example, copies that they got from the Pakistanis, the reactors the Pakistanis use for producing plutonium. We see that in Iran. The latest one started up several months ago. And so we see the Iranians busily developing the wherewithal to have nuclear weapons. If that were to happen in the Middle East, it would be a chaotic situation. I think there'd be a lot of things happening in terms of what does Saudi Arabia do, for example. So you could see a whole cascading of countries seeking a nuclear capability if Iran ever shows that they do have one. It would not be good for this country, or the world for that matter.
You have discussed the proliferation of the nuclear the weaponry and so forth, but you have a counter people, say, in other countries that are lecturing, say, similar to the way you did here, say, bringing up the subject of thinking of the unthinkable.
Do we try to talk other countries out of?
Yeah.
Yes, we do, and we have been successful. I can name you countries where we've been successful. South Africa. South Africa had produced at least 6 nuclear weapons, had them put together. South Africa had. I had to go down to South Africa and try to talk them out of getting rid of their nuclear weapon arsenal. And it was one of the most interesting conversations I ever had. And they said, well, first of all, they said they didn't have one. And then I talked with some people, and they said, give us a little time, and we're going to declare these weapons, and then we're going to dismantle them. And South Africa actually dismantled their weapons that they had built, took the ore alloy out of the highly enriched uranium out of those weapons, and put that highly enriched uranium under international safeguards. It was a country that actually had them and then backed away. That was a success. We've had similar successes elsewhere, but they're not as many as we would like.
Can that be promoted?
Pardon?
I say, can that be promoted?
It can be, yes. It should be part of our agenda to convince countries that it's not in their interest to develop a nuclear capability.
That isn't going to help you with the terrorists.
Yeah, that would not apply to terrorists. They have their own agenda.
We've pulled back our anti-missile defense capability in Europe. Can you rationalize that?
I'm afraid I cannot. I think here again it's a confusion over what is tactical nuclear weapons and what is strategic. If you're a targeted person, it doesn't matter if it's strategic or tactical. And so our friends in Europe saying, well, wait, don't back away from us now. I think that was a bad decision. I can say that. I don't want to go counter the White House entirely, but I think that was a bad decision.
Can I ask you to go into a little more detail on the modernization of the American nuclear arsenal? Because the charts you showed is not what was in the air in 1952.
Yeah. We try to replicate what we did in the past when it comes to nuclear weapons per se. We don't launch out and put something new. We try to keep what we had. Now, certainly in the case of electronics, we have made improvements. In other components, we have made improvements. But right now, some of our weapons are so old that we cannot even find the lubricants or the chemicals associated with maintaining them because they're not made anymore. Some of them are carcinogenic and some of them had other properties, and you just can't buy them anymore. So we've actually had to develop something that was not in the old weapon to put it in to keep it current. But generally, we maintain it as it is, best we can. Because we don't want to change something that changes the physics properties of the warhead that was tested.
Well, I'm thinking of the B-52, for example. I mean, that was not the aircraft that was flying in 1952.
Okay? Well, thank you for your questions.
Thank you, everyone. Small gift of appreciation.
Well, thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Brad.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.